Hey everybody, this is John Yeager with Bennett Thrasher. Today is another episode of Think Business, and I'm excited to have a colleague, Vince Bakshani, to talk to us today about the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. Welcome, Vince.
Hey, John. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So some people know about EOS and some don't. So why don't we talk a little bit about your background and how you got here, and then we'll talk a little bit about what EOS is before we get into our conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. My passion for entrepreneurship started at home. I grew up in a family business, hoping to, take it over one day. And while I was in college, unfortunately, our business faced some hardships, and it eventually went out of business. So after school, after college, I ended up joining a large company. I was there for about 5 years. Then my kind of entrepreneurial spirit kicked back in, and I joined a startup here in Atlanta. And that was kind of the environment where I really thrived. We grew the business from $1 million in revenues up to about 13 million. We got acquired by a private equity company, and we ultimately exited the business to NASDAQ. So it was just a great environment for me to be in. I learned a lot, and we had a tremendous amount of success. So that gave me the momentum to kind of start my several other businesses, some that are still in operation, some were acquired, and some are just train wrecks. But today, I feel like EOS is my way to give back to the community. I helped other businesses kind of avoid the same fate that really my family business did by kind of implementing some tools that can help them, prolong their business or even take it to the next step. So it's kind of full circle now that I've had this experience, and I can hopefully, provide some of that experience and tools and help other businesses avoid that same fate. So that's kind of what attracted me to EOS.
Awesome. So tell me, define EOS for me, for people who haven't come across that yet.
Yeah, so EOS, as you'd mentioned, stands for Entrepreneurial Operating System, and basically, it's a set of simple, practical tools that's designed to help kind of leadership teams do three things we call vision, traction, and healthy, right? And when we say vision, we mean like from the standpoint of first getting the entire leadership team 100% on the same page with where the organization is going and how it plans to get there. Traction means from the standpoint of helping leaders become more disciplined, right, and more accountable. So no matter wherever they turn, everybody at the organization is executing on that vision. And by healthy, we mean kind of helping the leaders become a healthy, functional, cohesive leadership team. Because unfortunately, leaders often don't function well as a team. So there's a saying we use at EOS, as goes the leadership team, so goes the rest of the organization. But the end goal with EOS is to eventually get the entire organization kind of crystal clear on a vision, all much more disciplined and accountable and executing really well, and also gaining consistent traction and advancing as a healthy, functional, cohesive team. But I know that's a lot to begin with, but that's kind of in essence what EOS is and what it's designed to do.
Absolutely. And we'll kind of dive into some of those things, but you and I are connected, obviously through a mutual friend, but also because I have been part of EOS organization. So I try to run my practice based on EOS principles. We have our L10 meeting that we'll get into a little bit. And I've also kind of been an advisor to companies that were using the EOS platform. So I think you and I kind of synced up on that and the value of the platform and the value it can bring to the business. The interesting thing from this discussion is, well, a lot of people think about EOS. Obviously it's a management operating system, and think about how the company works on a day-to-day basis and accountability and those things. But as we both know, all businesses have an exit of some type. The exit can be it's sold. Exit could be the founder passes away and the business stops. The exit can be going public, like yours did. The exit can be a strategic buyer. There's lots of different ways. And at the end of the day, to maximize that enterprise value by, come across one of those exits is really a key prong of what EOS can help do. So it's not just about that day-to-day, process and management and accountability, but it's building an infrastructure in so that the investors, the private equity investors or strategic buyers, those kind of things know that there's a good organization set up and they're able to achieve their goals. Any reaction to that?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think, again, that's sort of what the connection I made during my time at that startup. And, a lot of the things that we did is very much in the tool set of EOS. And a lot of the tool, it's based on a book by Gino Wickman called Traction. And Traction, I think, was written in 2007. And our company first got our private equity infusion in 2008. So I'm pretty sure the leaders did not read the book. Really felt like they did. And so when I started discovering and learning more about the tools, it was very reminiscent of things that we subconsciously did that helped us get the maximized amount of either the value for the organization and then subsequent exits. So it definitely is, private equity grade tools, but small companies of much smaller size that don't have the resources can use this to kind of maximize the valuation of their business.
Absolutely. And with EOS, there's kind of the EOS model, and there's 6 major components, right? So people, vision, data, issues, traction, and process. I tend to think about people, vision, and data as kind of one group, right? So maybe we'll start there and talk about, what do you mean by vision? What do we talk about from a people standpoint, and what is important about data?
Yeah, and then so when we talk about vision, regardless of the business, whether it's your business or my business, every business has a vision, right? And it's not that individuals at the organization don't have a vision. It's just that they're not always aligned on what that vision is, right? So I come and give an example. If we're traveling from New York City to another city, we need to determine the end destination, right? If somebody thinks we're going to Boston versus Atlanta, there might be a different path you may have to take, right? So the first thing is we really need to align the organization on where is the organization going, right? The second part of vision is also coming to an agreement on how we're going to get there, right? So if we've decided that we're going to go to Boston, we could take a flight, we could take a bus, we could drive. There's numerous ways we could go, but the thing is to make sure that, hey, we're going to Boston and we're going to take a flight. That's the vision. That's how we're going to get there, right? So we have to get everybody aligned on specifically what the vision is for that particular business and how we're going to get there, right? Now, in order to execute a vision, you need great people, right? And when we talk about great people as it relates to EOS, we're kind of stealing a piece out of Good to Great, Jim Collins, where he had mentioned great people, or right people, right seats, right? So what we mean by that is, first of all, you need the right seats. You need the people in the right seats, the people that are good at their jobs, they have the God-given talent, and they know how to accomplish what they need to. Right people are the individuals that are right for your organization, right? They fit your core values. These are people that you want to be surrounded with. And if you were to hire more people, you would hire these type of people. And you'd also almost repel people that you don't want at your organization, right? So you have the vision, you have the right people in the right seats. The next is the data component. And as you're seeing here, I love using analogies. So, imagine you show up to the doctor, the first thing they do is they take your vitals, right? What's your height? What's your weight? What's your blood pressure, your pulse? These are just data points that just give you the vitals, gives the doctor, hey, give me some general vitals of how this patient is doing. Same thing with the business, right? It needs vitals, it needs its data. It needs a scorecard so business leaders understand, is there anything that we need to be alerted to, right? Is the business on track? Is the blood pressure too high? Anything of that nature really helps the leaders make sure they have a pulse in the business. So when you've kind of strengthened the vision component and you've strengthened the people component and you've strengthened the data component, what tends to happen is all the other issues become transparent, right? They become extremely obvious because there's nowhere to hide in the organization. So then we lead into the other components of the business that you had stated, which is issues and the ability to problem solve, right? Process, the ability to do the best. There's a way to do things in your business. Let's make sure they're done the right way and the best way every time. And then that sixth component is traction, right? Are we disciplined? Are we accountable? Are we moving forward towards our ultimate goal? So that kind of, I think, gives you a little bit of a deeper dive into EOS. But you're right, vision, people, and data are the first components that we try and work on to make sure we set the tone for the business.
Yeah, absolutely. When I've gotten into the vision component, some people, they'll talk about a vision statement and you read the vision statement. It's like, well, I'm not sure that is an aspirational statement, right? It's we're going to process widgets, right? Let's be aspirational in our vision. Where do we want to go? Like you said, do we want to go to Boston? Well, let's make sure that's an aspirational statement, how we get there. And then the people side, from my standpoint, you talked about that, and I know one of the tools that EOS has is the GWC, get it, want it, capacity to do it. So you have a kind of a simple scorecard review process. Do they meet the company values that you've aligned, and then do they get the job? Do they want the job? And they have kind of the mental capacity to do the job. I always found that kind of to be very straightforward and an easy way to talk to people about what they're doing.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's right at that cross section of, right seats, right people. You got to have both. So when you kind of break that down and you have your core values and have your employees on, let's say on a chart, you can see if your employees are exhibiting some of those core values, right? And if they are, you probably have the right people. GWC, as you had mentioned, does that person get the job? Does the person want the job? And does that person have the capacity in terms of the training, the time, and everything else that goes with it to do the job, right? That means you have here's the seat, here's the person. When you align both, you then have the right person in the right seat. You got to have both.
Absolutely. And then obviously data is close to my heart. We provide the accounting services and the technology services to help capture key metrics and KPIs and financial measurements and those kind of things, so that you can then hold yourself accountable and you know where you are on the road. You know that, hey, I've gotten to Lexington and now I've gotten here and now I've gotten here all the way to Boston. And so, we've worked with EOS companies where we can construct the dashboards within the operating, platform that we build, and those can be used in the meetings that they have to really drive the process.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, data is key. And, we've seen time and time again that especially a lot of first-time entrepreneurs, they're making a lot of decisions based on kind of subjectivity or emotion or, gut feelings. We really want to eliminate a lot of that and really focus on the data. But the other part of EOS is the data itself is we really focus on activity-based data, right? And again, if I go back to the healthcare, a health analogy, if I wake up every morning and I weigh myself and I'm 180 pounds, 182, 185, it's not going to help me make any decisions, right? And what we try and do at EOS is more activity-based numbers, right? So how many calories did I intake the day before, right? If I intake 5,000 calories, I'm likely to gain a pound, right? If I only had 1,000 calories, I'm likely to lose a pound, right? So when we start working on scorecard, we really emphasize activity-based numbers. That's going to tell you where you're going to be rather than rear view looking numbers like, your weight that morning. So data is very important, but we also want to make sure that we're focusing on data that can help you predict where your business is going to be.
Absolutely. So if we take the people, the vision, the data, and then we have the traction where we talk about accountability and setting quarterly rocks and priorities and following processes, how do you see kind of all this coming together to help drive the valuation side of things. What are, what's your experience with that? Why do you think we talked a little bit about it in the beginning, but why do you think that all ties together? Because I think this is a really interesting concept to talk about with EOS that a lot of people don't talk about. So that's why when we started brainstorming on this, I thought that was a great topic to discuss.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's, again, I think there's an element of vision and making sure we're communicating that vision to the rest of the organization, right? But if you're going out there to fundraise, or you're looking for an exit, or somebody's looking to acquire you, you need to also be able to clearly communicate that vision to the investor, right? And if you're unable to do that, you're unlikely going to get perhaps the valuation you seek, or you may not get those funds altogether, right? So again, I think there's an element of you giving the pitch, you've got the business model, the problem, the market, the competition, but ultimately, if you're looking to raise money, they want to know what your vision is, and you want to be able to clearly communicate that, right? And there's many parts of the vision, right? There's the long-term vision, maybe your 10-year target. But then there's smaller elements of it what's the 3-year picture? What does your organization going to look like in 3 years, right? What are you trying to achieve this year? And what are you going to do next quarter, right? So what are your ROCs for the next quarter? So EOS, all the tools combined can help you get all those elements, so then you can use that information to then communicate to the investor, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to get there, here's what we're going to focus on in the short term, long term, and here's our vision, which gets clearly communicated. The second part to that was the kind of mentioning of once your vision is tight, once your people are tight, or once your data component is tight, it's going to tell you all the areas of your business that needs attention, right? And a lot of times, a common question you're going to get from an investor is, what are you going to do with the funds, right? And if you have gone through the process of implementing EOS, you're going to know exactly where the strengths and weaknesses of your business are, right? If you're having some people issues and you need to hire some more people, hey, we need more leadership in these areas, here's how we're going to use the funds. If we need to strengthen the product side of our business, we have a little bit of weakness here on the product side, and we're going to develop more, or we're going to allocate more funds towards product development. So all of these questions that end up coming through that fundraising process, you kind of have to prepare for those as well. And if you can get all that information together, and everybody on the leadership team can clearly communicate that vision, and also straightforward answer, here's what we're going to do with the money to get to where we want to go, then I think you're going to get not only the maximum value you can for your business, but you're also going to increase the likelihood of getting the funds to begin with.
Well, I can't tell you how many conversations I've been part of where somebody wants to exit, right? And so they engage the investment banker, they engage us, the lawyers. The investment banker starts digging around, and they're like, you're 2 or 3 years away from being ready to do this because your numbers don't make sense, or your structure doesn't make sense, or whatever it is. And so I'm like, oh, if you'd only implemented EOS 3 years ago, you'd be at a great spot now, or implement it now and be ready to exit in a couple of years. That's could be so helpful with so many companies out there, and I think there's a lot of need for that. So Vince, I'm gonna wrap it up with that, and I've really enjoyed having you on the show and talking about your background in EOS and how that can affect an exit evaluation. If people are interested, how should they reach out to you? How can they find you if they need some help in reaching their goals?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you very much for allowing me to kind of elaborate and tell you a little bit more about EOS. And if anybody wants more information, they can email me directly at vince.bakshani@eosworldwide.com. Or if you'd like to shoot me a phone call or a text message, my phone number is 678-249-8495. So if there's any interest in learning more about EOS, on how it can just help you in your current situation, whether or not you're planning to exit, EOS will just help you enjoy running your business in general, right? It's going to give you more time. It's going to give you more growth. It's going to give you everything you want that you're not getting from your business. But if you are interested in fundraising, and if you are eventually looking to exit your business, these are all the things that we can do together to help you make sure that everything is in order when it comes time for the ultimate sale or the exit.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks, Vince, for being part of the show, and I wish you much luck and much success, and hope people reach out to you to help them achieve their goals and live the EOS life. So that wraps up today's episode. Again, this is John Yeager. You can reach me at john.yeager@btcpa.net. Thank you for joining us today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day and week, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.